Hello and welcome to another episode of Training Tips. This episode we're going to talk about toeing in and smearing, getting those feet working for you. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how friction really matters when it comes to like how much pressure you're putting on a hold or how much pressure you're putting on a smear. The other thing we're going to talk about is when you're toeing onto those jibs, making sure that you're really putting your leverage over the jibs so that you're getting all the leverage you can from that hold. Because a lot of times when we're climbing things we're unsure of, we're not putting all of our pressure on our feet, so we're kind of squeezing a little too hard with our hands and kind of our feet are popping off. That's another reason why you see when people are doing long moves. In general, feet cutting comes down to not putting enough pressure on your feet when you're in an elongated move. So let's talk about that a little bit. All right, so let's talk about smearing first. So you want to really have the proper amount of surface area on the wall when you're smearing. So you really want to get your foot kind of nice and flush and pressed in, and the rubber will flex with the wall when you're pressing into it, and really press down and in. And what I want you to do is when you're at your gym next, or if you're watching this at your gym, go up next to a hold, a nice big hold, and then just place the foot and then just kind of let it slide off, right? The next time you try it again, really press down and try to slide. You'll notice that it's way harder to pull your foot off the hold. So that just comes down to the friction. The rubber needs the friction to feel like it needs to stick. So when you don't have friction, when you're just lightly pressing, it's just going to drop off. So that's a lot of time why we're going for moves and we're squeezing super hard and the feet are just sliding. It's because we're not trusting our feet, right? Because we're scared to fall. So the focus is to really bring that confidence, press down on the smear, and be good to go. The same thing to be said with jibs. So if you have a small jib and you're not really pressing hard, there's a better chance it's going to slip off, especially if it's shaped like this to where it's kind of rounded and you're pressing onto it. It's just going to slide off unless you really press into it and really trust that it's going to stick. Then it most likely will stay there and be good. And then when it comes to making like elongated moves, like on the moon board, making big moves without feet cutting, I was making sure that in most recent moonboarding sessions that I was like, I want to not feet cut. I want to try, because I know that's like why a lot of them are set for feet cutting, right? To just be powerful. But if you make that a practice, you can get better footwork and have a better job at kind of keeping the foot on the wall as you're climbing, even making long moves. It just means when you're long, you're still pressing down, and it's going to take effort. And I would suggest practicing with that, doing big moves and keeping the toe on the hold by keeping the pressure down while you're moving out. And it's kind of counterintuitive when you're moving way up and out, be able to stay pressing down. Yeah, so we'll talk about jibs as well. When it comes to climbing on small, tiny little footholds, you gotta keep that ankle high, and you'll notice the calf will start to get pumped out, and that means the calf is working for you. Because you want the ankle high, because if you're sagged, that means you're not really putting the amount of pressure that you need to on the hold to really utilize it. You don't have that leverage. So you'll notice a lot of people are climbing like this. Their ankles are below the hold while they're pressing onto it. And I had that same issue too before Justin Chong, I worked with him a while back when he came to the city. Just had an hour session, and he cleaned up a lot of my technique. One of the things I was doing is I was letting my ankle sag below the holds. But yeah, and so it all comes down to trusting and really committing to your foot presses when you're pressing onto the holds. And then kind of climbing overhand climbing and hooking with your toe and pulling in is a whole nother thing in itself, and we'll have a whole nother episode on that. So hopefully you enjoyed this and got something out of it, and let me know what other things you want to hear about on the Training Tuesdays. So until then, I'll see you guys around.